Welcome to a special broadcast of Battle Wounds Podcast. I'm your host, Amos St. John. And I am so glad that you're here today. I decided to do something special. And so you have entered into my room, my piano room. I'm in my little personal studio here in my house, my apartment. And I was like, you know what? Every week I kind of prepare a plan, a lesson, But this week has been a really challenging week, and I've learned when you get into moments like this, you do what you do best. And for me, I play. I'm a musician. I'm a piano player. And before we get started, I want to first thank you for tuning in to Battle Wounds Podcast. And then if you haven't subscribed, I think now is a perfect time for you to subscribe. So subscribe right now. Come on. And if you are on any of my other social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, make sure you follow Amos St. John. On Instagram, I am Battle Wounds Pod, and I'm also Amos St. John. But, follow, like, comment, and again, subscribe. I'm starting this podcast a little different, and if you're listening, this will be some good listening music and good riding music, If you didn't know that, I am a musician first, Since the age of 6, Amos St. John Sr., my dad, who was a musician himself, very well accomplished musician. He was actually a great music teacher. I could imagine the many students that he had. I don't know all of them, but he spent a lot of time teaching piano lessons, amongst all the other things he did and playing our church, and playing for choirs and playing and working a regular job. My dad also taught piano lessons, but he sat me down at the age of 6 and started teaching me music theory. And I'm thankful for that. My daughter, as you can see on my social media platform, she's kind of getting into it. I am not as, I don't know, say I'm good as my dad, or patient, but I'm working on just being a better teacher, and patience. It takes a lot of patience to teach, especially, young kids and preteens. And I'm in a season where I just a lot going on, And so I started teaching her, thank God there's, technology now, and iPads that kind of do a lot of the work for you, especially in music theory. But I do appreciate y'all who have encouraged her. She's on my pages and she's watching and she's encouraging. Again, as I said before, she's like my number one cheerleader, and so she's like, Daddy, let's go. Let's get more subscribers. So that's why I encourage y'all, for my daughter, subscribe, share, like, follow, But yeah, my dad taught me at the age of 6, and I've always had a liking to playing the piano. A little bit about my upbringing. I didn't have much of the fancy stuff, Again, my parents, we got by. They didn't. I didn't come from wealthy parents. I didn't come from a wealthy family, and so we know how to get by. We know how to survive, and that's something that I'm actually looking to overcome. Is the survival thing I want to conquer. But my parents, so what I say all that to say is we had a upright piano, sound a little like this patch that I'm playing in Spectrasonics Keyscape, but it was a little bit more out of tune. My dad didn't tune the piano in our living room, and we didn't have cable TV. Back then, it wasn't as necessary as it is today. You gotta have cable TV or internet. We had regular basic TV with turning the knob on the TV. And kids programming was very limited, Channel 13, which is PBS in New York. If it wasn't Sesame Street or any of these other, Reading Rainbow, which was in the morning time or maybe in the afternoon, it was not much time, I had to watch TV or anything. I didn't have video games. Back then it was Atari, I think. Nintendo was new, and maybe Sega Genesis back in those days in the 80s. But my parents were like, you ain't getting into that. And so what I had was a piano. I listened to a lot of radio. I listened to so much radio. My gosh, I listened to so much radio. And one of my favorite songs in the radio was this song. I'm just gonna play that intro, and Bruce Hornsby, and I heard that in the radio. I was like, oh my gosh, and that's when I kind of started picking up having an ear, and I used to go back to that upright piano and like mimic the melody I heard. I was like, da 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 da. So that was one of the first songs. That's why I love Bruce Hornsby. If anybody knows my style of playing, I do a lot of Bruce Hornsby-isms, And so that's all I had. That was my entertainment, was the piano. And I really spent a lot of time on the piano. It was my safe place. So as an adult, that's where it is, my safe place. This is my safe place. I get to communicate. I get to spend time and express emotion, emote. My first album, In the Secret Place, was birthed in those moments where I was on a piano in dark space, in a dark place, and I emote and really commune with God, and He responds in melody. He responds in expressions and in music. So this week was one of those tough weeks for me, and wanted to bring y'all in and how I process these difficult spaces emotionally. And then for me, it's piano, music. For you, maybe reading a book, watching something, or reading something, talking to someone, not talking, for me is this. And for years, I've kind of ran away from it because part of the trauma was through music, not necessarily music playing it, but I hate to say business of it. I've been in a lot of organizations, music departments and stuff like that. And just like any job, it comes with its its drama, it comes with its challenges. And this week I just did a lot of reflection. And I think I want to entitle this episode, It's Time to Break the Cycle. It's time to break the cycle. Like whatever the cycle of drama, and the last episode we talked about, you're one decision away. This is one of the decisions. It's time to break the cycle. I was at a place the other day. I was actually at a place, doing some work, and I took a break and went to the bathroom because I was triggered. I was triggered by some things, and I was like, man, I'm tired of this. And it finally hit. It was like, it's time to break the cycle. I'm not doing this. I'm not going back to those hurtful environments and those dealing with difficult people. And it's just difficult when you're dealing in a position of vulnerability. Not a lot of people understand that or have the ability to hold space with vulnerability. And so I was in that bathroom. I was like, yo, I can't do this. I'm not going back to this brokenness I was years ago. I'm not going back to the place there where I was traumatized or triggered. Like, you have the ability to break the cycle. It's time to break the cycle. And so this episode, I just went coming from the heart, it's time for you to break the cycle. To break the cycle of bad relationships, bad money management, bad situations. It's time to break the cycle. It's time to renew your mind. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And it finally clicked for me, and I'm just at a space where, I'm not going back to that. And so I was thankful for that, but it was a little painful because it just reminded me of all the situations that I kind of allowed myself in. And thank God for therapy. Listen, this is Mental Health Awareness Month. If you can't find a therapist, I really encourage you to find a therapist in your area. I wish I can recommend my therapist, but he may not necessarily service your city or service your state. But in the Texas, Dallas area, he's available, but I think he's actually fully booked. But yeah, like therapy has changed my life. Where I'm at today, I would not have been without God and my therapist and my family and my circle of accountability. So how do we break the cycles? First of all, we have to acknowledge that you're in a cycle. Acknowledge it. Hey, I've been here before, and the last time I was here, it wasn't good. It didn't turn out as good as I would have hoped. And I can't fault nobody but myself because I've subjected myself in that. You subjected yourself to being disrespected, and now you have to draw the line. I'm not allowing myself to be disrespected. I'm not putting myself in position to be disrespected anymore. And so how do we break the cycles? First thing is acknowledge that you are in a cycle. I think the awareness of it all is the difficulty. Like I noticed in the past when I was in really weird situations or predicament at a job or somewhere, I wasn't aware that I was in this situation where I was triggered. Now I'm aware, and I'm like, nah, you have the option to not allow yourself to be triggered. Whether, again, in a relationship or a job or a situation, please become aware so you can acknowledge that you are in a cycle. Like you keep going in circles and circles and making the same type of choices that is hurting you. It's time to stop subjecting yourself to the self-harm, self-destructive type of decisions where being around these certain people are not healthy for you. They're toxic. And it's time to get out of that toxic environment. Break the cycle. And so, we have acknowledge. You acknowledge that, you're aware, and how do you break the cycle is you make the first step. You make the first step of like, I'm not doing this no more. I'm going to make a change. And you take that step. Now, can it happen overnight? Probably not, but you take that first step, and I've made the first steps. I'm starting to think a little clearly, but while you take that step out of breaking that cycle, there's one important thing, which I really, really take time to work on. You do not make a decision out of emotion. Okay? You break in the cycle. Yes, you've acknowledged it, but you got to check your emotions. Do not make a drastic decision while you're in the heat of the moment. And so take a moment to cool off, step away, do something, take a breather, meditate, do something, go work out. Then you take that step forward. So don't get so mad and make a decision, and I caught myself in the middle of it the other day where I was extremely emotional and I was ready to go off. But I caught myself, was like, I'm going to take a step back and I'm just going to chill and think about it in the morning or think about it in a couple hours. And then I did that. I actually had a great conversation with a friend. This was a really long conversation. And, I was thankful that I had that safe space to kind of deal with the frustration, breaking the cycle is going to take you to have hope and belief in yourself. Have hope and believe in yourself. That dream, that plan, that idea, you got to believe in yourself. We're in a really strange day There's a lot of people going through, and I'm finding out more and more that it's not just me or, it's just a lot of people kind of going through some tough times. And so have hope. And I was talking to somebody who's like, man, I don't know. I don't have much of it, but I've been fortunate to kind of remain resilient in these difficult times. But I want to encourage you to have hope. It's going to work out. You're going to be just fine. And you're listening into this, you're watching this. I really want to let you know that you are not alone. And God is with you. If you're a believer, you're not alone. And even if you feel alone, just know that you're going to get through it. Don't give up. You're going to make it through it. And you're going to break the cycle, not just for you, but for your family, for your kids. And, we talked about acknowledging, and we talking about, just believing in yourself and all that. But there's a key is just like, find some inspiration, something that inspires you. That's another takeaway. Find something that inspires you. Get into that space where, what? This person or this situation inspires me. And let it be your fuel. You know what inspires me outside of some other things, but my daughter, she pushes me, and she's like my number one cheerleader. I didn't realize that she's like, you're going to make it, Daddy. I can't wait. And that's been such a motivator for me, and and something inspiring for someone who believes in you, your child. It's important to have that motivation, that inspiration. Because you're going to break the cycle. I believe it. You're going to break this cycle. And I really want to take this moment to just be transparent and be honest that, this was a tough week, and doing this podcast, many times I've wanted to quit and be like, it ain't getting much. But when those moments happen, when it's tough, that's when you turn up. That's when you keep going. That's when even when you don't see the reward or the response, or, that's when you keep going. Find the strength from within, And so I was like, I'm not going to just cancel this week's episode. I'm just going to speak from the heart. And I basically broke the cycle. Look at that. I broke the cycle, because normally I would have just been like, nah, I'll get back to y'all next week. But things are shifting. Things are getting better. You just got to navigate these dips, these valleys. And so I just realized I just broke the cycle. Like, doing this very podcast episode and just flowing, playing my favorite instrument on the piano was breaking the cycle. Man. So that's it. Do it anyways. You don't feel like it. You don't want to do it. Do it anyways. Push and keep going and do it anyways. You might be in that dark room by yourself, but do it anyway. Do it. Keep going, yo. You might have to slow down. You might have to shift your pace a little bit. But one thing is that don't quit. Don't you quit. You know what I'm saying? You're going to break the cycle. We are going to break the cycle. This episode is a cycle breaking episode. That depression, that anxiety, that lack of productivity. Break that cycle, y'all. That low self-esteem. Break that cycle, y'all. That self-doubt. Break that cycle. That low self-value, you know what I'm saying? You keep undercutting yourself. You keep underselling yourself. Break that cycle. You are valuable. You are worth it. You know what I'm saying? You are the jewel. You are a diamond. You are rare. You are one of a kind. Don't let nobody tell you otherwise. You are great at what you do. I was talking about an analogy. I don't know if you paid attention. Let's talk about basketball a little bit. And this is a perfect analogy. Whether in your job and you realize, okay, I'm not performing at your optimum, and you feel like, my boss, man, it's just, I can't work under this strenuous situation, and sometimes you start intaking some of this, like, maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was. You know what I'm saying? And that's when you start dealing with low self-esteem and low self-value. And I was talking about, I don't know if y'all noticed the trend throughout the years in NBA that there's a particular player that'll play in a team that you think is like a great player, but they're getting the team into a system and they completely collapse, that they don't produce to their optimum level. And all of a sudden they get traded and go to another team. And all of a sudden they, boom, become a superstar. I can't remember the guy's name, but you can mention it in the comment. He's in the Knicks, but he was with the Mavs and he had okay numbers dealing with the Mavs, but now I think it's Brunson. He's with the Knicks and he is doing numbers. He's a star. He is a key piece into their success. Despite of all the injuries, they are still in the playoffs with the Knicks. And he wasn't, like I said, he was in another team and his name was barely mentioned. But all it takes is being in the right place at the right time, under the right type of environment. And the very thing that you are created to be will be to its optimum level. So don't associate your lack of success or lack of unproductivity in a certain environment to you. It may not be you. It may be the system that you're in. And if you're switched and flipped to a new system, I guarantee you'll be blossomed. You'll blossom, you'll shine, just like Jalen Brunson, I believe, from the Knicks, that was at another team and he wasn't as productive. He was a good piece, but all of a sudden he in the right system. And so it's not you. Sometimes it's the system that you're in, and you may need to shift into a new system so you can be you again. That shining star, that shining star that you are. That's who you'll be, who you're destined to be, that bright and shining star. So I just want to encourage you, like, you're going to break the cycle. This was a cycle breaking episode. It was a little different. I'm playing my favorite instrument. You're getting a little bit of score undertone, and you're getting something pure from the heart of breaking cycles. Break that cycle. It's time to break that cycle. It's time to just become who you're destined to be, that bright shining star that you are. Right now you're a little dim and you're a little discouraged, and it's okay. You're human. But you know what? You got to believe, have hope. Acknowledge the cycle that you're in, that you're about to break, and you got to make it. You're going to make it. So I'm just going to play a little bit, and I'm just going to close this episode and just encourage you. It's time for you to break this cycle. It's time to break the cycle. It's time for you to just let go of that bad situation that you're in and start to find a better situation that you can fit, and make that declaration that I'm never going back to this again. And you're going to break the cycle. You're going to win. And so I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. Your special episode. We're almost at the end of season 5 of Battle Wounds Podcast. And I think I might bring in some musical guests. I know there's another podcast that did it on a larger scale and brought, Ty Tribbett. That was pretty cool. But I definitely had a similar idea of bringing some musical guests, and I'm gonna do it. And people may say, "You bought from the other podcast." Nah, I had that idea, but it's all good. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Amos St. John, and I want to encourage you that health is wealth. Health is wealth. And you're going to break the cycle today. All right? I believe in you. Until next time. See ya.